I'm joined by artist and designer Marcy Tilton of Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. Hi, Marcy.
Hi, Katina.
Well, you know, today's all about long and lean, and you have brought to us an incredible necklace, and you're going to show us how to do it.
I am. This is actually the first necklace I ever did, and I'm still doing it all these years later. I use a combination of beads. This is a time to use great beads and a mixture of great beads. So I've picked big ones, different sizes, different shapes, but all pretty much in the same scale. And then it's essential to have some smaller beads.
Right.
So the in-between beads are every bit as important. Their integrity has to be right, too.
Exactly.
So I picked those really carefully, and then I've combined the silver with a crystal, which is a really beautiful, subtle, elegant kind of contrast with it. I love the look of it.
That's great. That's where your design technique comes in.
I guess so, yeah. And then in between, I space the beads out with using the delicate beads. And here I've used 4 different colors of silver, which I mix up.
Yeah.
So when they're blended together, it has kind of an antique vintage
look. So all
look.
different shades and colors, it's perfect.
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay, how do we get started with it?
Okay, let me show you how to get started with this. I've got one all started here.
Now, first of all, what are you stringing it onto?
Oh, great. Good question. I'm using number 0.08. 018 beading wire in the most flexible variety, so I think that's the 49 strands.
Okay.
And that's just about the perfect weight for the crystal. I've strung a loop, and this loop is a little, I wanted to show you what a little bit too big looks like. I want it to be a little bit snugger than that. So I'll take a few beads off. I've got a crimp bead on.
And so you're using the donut bead on that?
The crystal donut bead is my anchor.
Okay.
And that's one of the first
one.
things I look for is what can that anchor be, because it needs to be beautiful.
Yes,
it needs to be in harmony with the rest of the piece. So now I want to crimp it.
So you had it a little too loose, so you took the couple off.
Yeah, so I want to have a little play, but not sloppy.
Right.
Okay, so now I'm going to use the inside neck of the crimper. It is essential to have a crimper, and I just open up the beads like so, okay? And sometimes I crimp it at this point, or I clip it, excuse me, at that point. That kind of hides the little edge, and then I use the outside jaw to flatten it out, roll it up, make it really clean. And I want to, there it goes.
Perfect.
On this first go round, I want to hide the crimp bead if I can. So I look for a bead that will slip on and cover it. So like so.
That's perfect.
Covers it perfectly. And then this beautiful crystal bead is going to just nest right in to this slightly larger bead. So
it's a good example of how important every single bead is to a design.
Everything has to really nest together.
Yeah.
And it's true with this piece. Everything has to, each element really has to work with the other one.
Exactly.
So I'll put another loop on and then nest this little, these remind me of flying saucers, these little rondelles. I'll put that on. And now I'm ready to string in between. As a general rule, I have anywhere between 1 and 2 inches of delicate beads.
Right.
And if we go over and look at the almost completed necklace.
So basically you're doing it in sections.
I am. I'm doing it in sections, and I tend to work in 2 sections. And the one thing that I found I want to watch for is not to divide it in half.
Right.
But to use that idea of thirds is much more visually pleasing. And I wish I could tell you that I measure, but I don't. I cut a length of wire.
And each place where we see the donut crystal, that's exactly where each section begins?
That's where it begins and ends. And so the in-between stages, I try and vary the shapes. I like to put in like 2 or 3 smaller beads, but that are distinct.
Yes, that's perfect.
So, and I vary the crystal silver combination on this. The closing part is a little more intricate.
Okay.
And one of the things that's crucial, I put a crimp bead on, but the bead that sits next to it has to have a small enough hole so when you close up the crimp bead, it won't vanish into the hole,
Right.
go down the gullet of the hole.
Yes, that makes sense.
So what I'm going to do here is string on another length of delica beads, make my loop, and then pull it very snug and tight, and crimp again, and that completes it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Perfect. Now, you brought along a couple other examples with you.
I did. This first silver one is very, very simple. It uses just one color delica bead. The middle one uses slightly smaller scale, combines color. And the other one is actually the first piece I ever made.
Oh,
and
it's gorgeous.
Uses a lot of combination of handmade beads.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marcy. It's nice
Thanks,
working with
Katina.
you. Well, next up is this week's beading lesson with Katie Hacker.